strong. I believed in those words.
Extermination, 2001. One of the first survival horror games for the PS2. Introducing exterminating horror. A lot of genres received a much-needed boost heading into the PlayStation 2 generation. With Resident Evil and Silent Hill, survival horror gained some prominence, but with too many poor releases, it began to fade. Countdown Vampires and other generic games added nothing fresh to the genre and made it feel stale. However, with more powerful gear, the genre might terrify players in new ways. Extermination is a PlayStation 2 survival horror game released in 2001. The game was utilized as a demonstration for the system at trade exhibitions even before its debut because it was a first-party product that rolled out early in the system's lifecycle. Extermination was the first survival horror game released on the PlayStation 2, and while it garnered some buzz among critics, it earned largely indifferent reviews. Access Games has hired former members of the development team. The game was developed by Deep Space and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. Prior to its demise, Tokuro Fujiwara's business Whoopee Camp was in charge of the development of Extermination. Hello, and welcome to Marvelous Gamers. Today we explore a gaming gem that got lost in time, but yet deserves your attention. If you are a horror buff like me, this game is sure to keep you hooked to your screen, but at the edge of your seat at all times as you race for your life in a desperate attempt for survival. Before we move forward, do remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more gaming content on your feed. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
If it isn't our alien friend, looks like a father and son reunion. Guess what? It's time to finish both of you.
The story at a glance. Extermination takes place in a top-secret Antarctic research facility. You're Dennis Riley, a member of the U.S. Marine Corps' Team Red Light, and you've been dispatched on a mission to investigate a distress call from the base. Team Red Light is dispatched to investigate the distress call, which asks for an air attack to destroy the facility. Unfortunately, your jet has been shot down, and your crew has dispersed, leaving you to explore on your own in the hopes of reuniting before the bizarre events at the research base kill everyone. Dennis, along with his comrades of Team Red Light, Roger Gringman and Cindy, must fight off the Hydras, also known as bugs, and survive the perils of the virus-infested tundra. A peek at gaming mechanics, a race for survival against a deadly virus. Extermination was one of the earliest PS2 survival horror games, and it had a lot of potential. There's a lot to appreciate about this film, which has a premise that mirrors The Thing, which oddly has its own title. Extermination, like Dark Cloud, was a title that seemed to garner a lot of buzz when it was originally released before nearly entirely disappearing off the face of the planet. Even after its debut in Japan, there appeared to be little interest on this side of the Atlantic, despite the fact that it earned positive reviews from the Japanese press. Aside from the usual request to rescue the world, the main purpose of the game was to escape the fatal virus that has invaded this distant establishment and eradicate it before it spreads. And it's in how the infection is dealt with that the game manages to stand out from the rest of the pack. The creators have managed to generate a higher sense of urgency to try and survive the mission by using an infection meter in addition to the usual health meter. When a virus infects a player, the infection bar begins to rise and continues to rise until the infection entirely takes over the player's functional capabilities, killing him unless given a vaccination at a medical facility. What's absolutely fascinating about this is that the number doesn't just grow with time. Other elements such as the environment will influence how quickly it spreads. When infected, the player must be especially cautious not to tread on swamp areas except if absolutely necessary, while also attempting to get treated as quickly as possible so that he does not croak. This, along with the soundtrack, creates a sense of urgency that makes the game so addictive. This may be combated by utilizing a unique machine known as the MTS bed, which can be found in select locations of the game, and heals the illness and returns his health to full. but it takes an MTS vaccination, which is a limited resource. When Dennis's health drops to 0 when infected, he will evolve into a monster and die, ending the game. The player control is extremely responsive, and the player goes in the direction that is pushed, rather than the spinning approach employed in games like Resident Evil, in which tapping left and right rotates the character, while pushing up and down sends him forward and backward. There are a lot of parallels between Resident Evil and Silent Hill right away. However, the game does not have tank controls, enabling you to explore the environments like a normal person. Extermination, like Code Veronica, employs polygonal environments and lets you change the camera rather freely. To save money and power other devices throughout the facility, you utilize batteries instead of ink ribbons. Fortunately, recharge terminals are frequently close by, so it is less of an issue. Ammunition is limited, but not as scarce as in Capcom's game. Ammo caches may be found all throughout the facility and can be used indefinitely, requiring you to often retrace your steps or rely on the knife. Extermination's combat is unique in that it takes on a life of its own. Rather than carrying a variety of weapons, your rifle may be equipped with a wide range of accessories for various scenarios. There are several scopes, supplementary fire such as a flamethrower and grenade launcher, and even magazines for various fire rates. The game offers a substantial auto-aiming feature, but you can still switch to first-person aiming or sniping if you need to. Combat is also made more bearable by the various scopes, especially when bigger mutations with glowing weak points appear. Dennis is initially armed with a special-purpose rifle, or SPR-4 assault rifle, which is a weapon often used by the armed forces in the game's setting. This weapon is extensively configurable, with add-ons including a zoom scope, flashlight grip, radar, and pieces that transform it into various weapons like a flamethrower, shotgun, or rocket launcher. Dennis also possesses a combat knife, which he may use to perform a single hard slash or a series of weak slashes. The battery pack is another unique feature of Extermination's gameplay. Dennis utilizes this rechargeable battery, which he finds towards the start of the game, to activate different machines and perform activities common to most video games, such as on-spot game saves. Collecting cells that are distributed around the fort enables the gamer to upgrade their battery pack to store even more power. The game employs an occasionally uncomfortable camera that acts as though someone is controlling it and wants you to fail. It's typically not an issue, but you'll occasionally fall off ledges or get attacked by monsters just due to the camera, which is especially aggravating because being latched onto by one of these critters means you'll have to fight off the dreadful infection before dying. The fact that there is a strong auto-aiming mechanism helps to mitigate the severity of camera difficulties in battle, but it also makes a lot of the combat aspects very routine. The game features some amazing ambient background noises, which, when paired with the superb soundtrack and high-quality SFX samples, on the whole help to develop the game's atmosphere and creates a sense of urgency that isn't commonly felt in other games of this genre. The environments look great and contribute to the aesthetics of the game's overall aesthetic. There are some great visual components along with splendid character animations and some brilliant CG cutscenes.
Dennis!
Critical reception. Why Extermination is a must-visit for all horror fans. With some noticeable plot twists and an interesting storyline, Extermination is a great game to spend your weekend with. Although the game received a lot of negative reviews due to its average delivery of the gameplay and visual segments, this PS2 classic still manages to be classified as a hidden gem. It isn't all horrible though. Extermination is delightful when it all comes together. Engaging with the stronger monsters in open areas is quite enjoyable, since there are nearly always objects like bursting barrels on hand to make things simpler. The numerous gun attachments allow you to play in a variety of ways without clogging up your arsenal. In that vein, we adore the fact that you don't have to juggle anything. Not that the game has a large item list or a lot of riddles, but that feature is one that a lot of survival horror games have taken from Resident Evil, when ideally they shouldn't have. Extermination has some flaws, but it's still a fun game. Extermination treads similar territory, and while some of its features fail to materialize, the game is still enjoyable at the end of the day. However, it does have the potential to be much better. Perhaps in the near future, we would get to see a revamp of this forgotten franchise that brings to the table all of what was expected of it. GameSpot and IGN both commended the game for bringing something new to the genre, making slight improvements over Resident Evil-style gameplay, and having good music and visuals. They did, however, critique the game's often clunky, unidirectional gameplay and average voice acting, as well as the fact that it didn't truly provide anything to rival other survival horror games. Some reviewers recognize similarities between the plot and location of John Carpenter's 1982 science fiction horror picture The Thing and the music in Extermination, while others saw similarities between Ennio Morricone's soundtrack for the film and the music in Extermination. Carrier, Resident Evil, and water effects comparable to those in the film The Abyss were among the other analogies. It is indeed not at par with Metal Gear Solid or Siphon Filter 2, but still, Extermination deserves a special mention for being one of the first survival horror installments in Sony Entertainment's roster, and for being the torchbearer of survival horror for the PlayStation 2. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.